years, isn't he? What is he, 37?
First down from the 10, Calvillo. This time, lots of time, slings it up. Jamel Richardson, touchdown.
I look like a 27-year-old throwing that out there. I look like an experienced vet. That was funny. Yeah, simple timing pattern. You know, it's just AC knows it, keeps his eyes right, hits his fifth step, bang, on the money. Count it. Big man, 6'2", 215 pounds, make it look easy. All that space out there in the Canadian Football League field. And Jamel Richardson says, thank you very much.
5th touchdown catch of the year, 18th touchdown toss of the year for Calvillo. And the point after is ticked, but it goes through, and the Alouettes have the first points, leading 7-0.
Big Huntley got his mid on that one, almost blocked that extra point.
Yeah, we here, baby. I told you.
And the addition of Jamel Richardson in mid-season to the Alouette lineup just adds another weapon to Mr. Calvillo's arsenal.
Watch his eyes, Gord, bang. He's surveying the field and he sees it, spots it out there. Just a beautiful throw. Almost impossible to defend because all the field and the formation that they have to Anthony's left side there. Finally they strike, you know, I'm sure.
My quarterback ace.
And you go back to missed opportunity, you go back to Jason Pottinger missing Anthony Calvillo in the backfield for the 3rd sack of the ball game, and you can't give this team an extra out, so to speak, to use some baseball terminology, because they will make you pay.
Remember talking to Calvillo when he first broke into the league with Las Vegas. Remember that? And he said the hardest thing in the CFL was realizing how long that throw is to the wide side out. That's like a 50-yard throw.
It is. You know, from the far hash to the boundary, just straight across the field, it's 41 yards. And now you push it up the field like that. That is a 50-yard dart. He put it on the money.
Jason Taylor, by the way, taking the place of Andre Dury, who was shaken up earlier. This is Dominic Dorsey taking the ball from his 5. Dorsey has a seam. Dorsey still going, and once again, the kicker, David Duval, is there to help make the stop. A 30-yard return for Dominic Dorsey, who brings that element that the Argos were missing to the attack.
You know, and Gord, you know, I don't want to disagree with you, but, you know, I really thought that Andre Dury was coming along when Dominic Dorsey came back in the fold for the Argonauts. And, you know, unfortunately for that young man, you know, Dominic, you know, is going to have more of these returns and take away from his opportunities. But, you know, you've got to get him the ball, and you've got to get him his touches, because he is electrifying.
On first down, this is Robertson, and he is spun around very quickly. John Bowman got in there quickly, and Catherine Dolan has an injury update for us.
Yes, Drury, he'd spent some time on the sidelines with the trainer. It appears that they were taping up his right ankle, but very quickly he got back on his feet. He was doing some sprints up and down the sidelines, grabbed his helmet, and he's been on the sidelines just waiting to get back in.
It's one thing, Gord, to run straight line and do some sprints. Is another thing to be out there cutting and pushing off of that ankle, you know, which he's asked to do on a number of occasions in his return responsibility. So it'd be interesting to see whether or not he's back in the lineup today.
Second down for Pickett. The Argos still looking for their first down of the game. Drop it off to Robertson underneath, and very quickly the Owls converge on him. Billy Parker got there to make the stop. And again, the Argonauts are unable to muster much offensively.
When you're forcing 2nd and long, the defense can play soft and play everything underneath, and that's what you see the Alouettes do. They just play everything underneath and then react to the football, and you see 5 bodies coming around the ball carrier there, and they have no chance. You know, if he breaks one tackle, which good backs are asked to do, you've got 4 other guys in the vicinity, and they're not going to let you get the first down. That's what we've seen Montreal's defense put themselves in a situation to do more often than this early in this ballgame.
Medlock this time gets to kick from his own 20. High snap, here comes the rush. Medlock gets a low tumbling kick away. And it bounces back towards the Argos. Taylor finally picks it up at midfield. Flag is down, that'll be no yards. And once again, the Alouettes will scrimmage on the Argos side of midfield, just a 22-yard punt.
Yeah, that's, you know, you saw Dominic Dorsey get them halfway decent field position out to the 35. They weren't able to do anything with it. And then a poor punt by Medlock, which is really not his. He's better than that, you know, and it's unfortunate because now the Alouettes are going to capitalize on some tremendous field position. We saw what they did last series, taking advantage of a missed opportunity by the Toronto defense. AC showed us his 4-2-9 down deep inside the territory, and then he throws a strike to Richardson to go up 7-0. And don't hold your breath here. Don't go to the kitchen for a cool beverage because you could miss something here.
Look at the average drive start for the Alouettes. The Toronto 49. They sling it up quickly. Brian Bratton makes the catch. And he should move the sticks as he gets to the 39-yard line. Will Poole makes the stop. Anthony Calvillo has been hyper efficient the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, and he gets rid of the football so quickly. And you know, it's imperative for him to be successful on 1st and 10. Although he's an experienced veteran quarterback, that's why he's successful, because plays like that.
He's eating up the Argonauts. Last 5 games against Toronto, Matt, 11 touchdown passes, 1 interception.
I think he likes the Rogers Center. Coming to Toronto on the train with all the fans from Montreal.
First down, lots of pressure for the 3rd time in the game. Anthony Calvillo is sacked. And this time it is Ronald Flemons who got there first along with Kevin Ivan.
I mean, just pick him up front. You know, it's just amazing. You pick him, here he is right here. And you watch what he does. And you watch, and bang. Slaps the hands down from Jeff Parrott and just says hello to the Anthony Calvillo. And 3rd sack of early in this ball game. Toronto is doing what they want to do defensively, getting to him and trying to disrupt it.
2nd and long, and Calvillo lots of time again. Slings it over the middle. He's got Cahoon. He's close to a 1st down at the Toronto 29-yard line. Willie Pyle was there on the coverage. The gain is 18.
Yeah, you watch Ben, and you know he's going to go into the territory of the field where he's got most of his catches throughout his career, and this is a spot that a lot of receivers don't really like to venture into too often because there's a bunch of head hunting going on in there by the linebackers, the free safety, halfback coming off their man. You're going one way and they're coming downhill with a bead on you, and Ben Cahoon continues to go in there fearless, time and time again, and coming up with big catches, and in this instance, moving the change for the Alouettes.
You talk about a man who's Mr. Consistency, 122 straight games with a catch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any quarterback that's ever played the position that wouldn't want that receiver in his huddle and in his arsenal to throw the football to in situations just like that. 2nd and long, Cahoon over the middle, count it.
First down, the give is to Avon Coburn, bounces outside. And Coburn down to the 24-yard line. Picks up 5.
Gord showing you just how, you know, he's just not a receiver and fearless going across the middle. He'll block too. And Willie Pyle here, I mean, it's no slouch. He gets up on him, gets his hat in the hole, continues to move his legs, and gives the corner to Avon Coburn. And certainly we know that Coburn knows what to do with it once he gets the edge.
2nd and 5 from the 25. Quickly, Calvillo swings it out, and Richardson gets down close to the 20-yard line. He'll be short, it would appear, of a Montreal 1st down. Will Poole is there on the coverage.
Trying to get matchups. He's on the top of your screen, far left, and it's a simple little hitch pattern. AC gets it out of the gun, plants his foot, and guns it, and he expects Jamel Richardson there to break a tackle. Well, that wasn't the case. And now they're forced in a 3rd and short situation where that's what they've got to do on the back end. They've got to tackle well, and we saw Jason Shivers come up and do a nice job of making them possibly kick this field goal here by Damon Duval.
It's 3rd and a long yard. And so instead of going for the gamble, it'll be Duval from the 28-yard line. And Cahoon is the holder. Cahoon puts it down, and Duval puts it through. The Alouettes close out the opening quarter with a 10-0 lead. The CFL on TSN returns to Toronto after this. Stats after the first quarter brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always. Well, you can see that just 12 net yards for the Argonauts, despite the fact their defense has 3 sacks. Matt, it may not be the Alouette offense that's causing Toronto problems. It may be the Argo offense that's hurting the Toronto D.
I think it's more than Montreal. Alouettes defense is dominant, and they have been all year. We talked about at the top of the show, Gord, leading the league in 21 defensive statistical categories, and that's showing out here. You know, the Argonauts are doing the best they can defensively to get off the football field with 3 sacks there in the first quarter, but their field position just been going against them.
Still no first downs for the Argos in this football game.
That's where the offense has got to come into play. They got to gear it up, or else, you know, I'm going to expect a quarterback change sooner than later here to see if they can't ignite this offense in some shape or form.
This is Dorsey taking the kickoff from his goal line. Dorsey finds some room to run and finally gets out to about the 28-yard line. The stop is made by Montreal's Paul Waldo. So some decent field position for the Argos. You mentioned last week Toronto made the quarterback change in the second half against Winnipeg. Right. Kerry Joseph rallied them. They lost 29-24, but they were down in that football game 29-9 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I don't think it was so much Joseph who rallied them as it was special teams, you know, a block punt for a touchdown, and they played some field position because Kerry didn't light it up. He threw for 123 yards, just over 50%. And he had 2 interceptions, trying to push the ball down the field and be aggressive. That's what Toronto's got to do here.
Pickett slings it way up there, and the pass is incomplete. As he was looking down the field for Jason Carter.
Yeah, the Canadian Football League is all about big plays. You know, you can't, it's difficult to sustain drives up and down the football field, and you got to take your shots. And I'm glad to see the Argonauts open it up here, a little play action, you know, really haven't established a run or anything offensively, but they're trying to push the ball deep here, and they don't connect on it, but it serves a purpose. It serves a purpose of saying, look, we're going to be aggressive here. We're going to take our shots at those big plays and try to get back in this ball game.
Audra Dix is back on the coverage. 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush. Pickett trying to find someone open. Now dumps it off underneath for Jeff Johnson. And Johnson should have the Argos' first down of the game as he gets to the 40-yard line. Gerald Brown there to make the stop. And there it is, the first down of the game.
Well, and it's got to come, you know, it came a little later than they wanted, but Cody does a nice job of breaking contain, keeping the play alive, looking downfield to the last possible second and dumping out to his outlet, Jeff Johnson. And Johnson knows where the sticks are, puts his head down and picks up the critical first down for the Argonauts.
Off to Robertson. He breaks the initial tackle, gets up to the 45-yard line before he is stopped by Diamond Ferry.
You know, I talked earlier, Gordon, the telecast about Dominic Dorsey being privy and very acutely aware of Jamal Robertson's mindset, you know, because there was talk the last couple of weeks about trying to get Dorsey involved in the offense. But really, when you have a weapon like that, he's so talented, he just needs the opportunities more often. And you saw why there, because you can break tackles and make it happen for you.
Pickett with a deep drive. And he'll run, trying to get to the 50-yard line, and he drops the football late. Chip Cox there to make the stop. And that one first down will stand alone as the Argos will once again be forced to punt. One of the problems for Toronto, Matt, 21 different receivers have caught footballs this year for the Argos.
Yeah, that's difficult on any quarterback, you know, Kerry or Cody, whoever's pulling the trigger for the Argonauts, because you have to have that relationship with those guys. It really hasn't been there. A lot of new faces rolling in, but that's not Cody's game to try to make something happen on second and medium with his legs, particularly against this defense who rallies to the football like no other.
Larry Taylor leads the Alouettes in touches. Takes the punt to his 26-yard line, and flags are everywhere. As he's stymied where he stands, a 39-yard punt. There is no return. The CFL on TSN is back to Toronto after this.
All right.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Molson Canadian. This is our beer. No turnovers in the game so far, or was there one when Cody Pickett was taken down?
Yeah, well put, Gord. You know, it really looks like the ball comes out here, as you can see. Chip Cox stripping it right there, and the ball, bang, there, the ball is out. If you roll it back just a little bit, the ball's out before his knee actually touches the ground, and no challenge on the play. And on the punt return, 10-yard penalty backs up Montreal even further, so you're looking at about a 40-yard loss on not challenging that call right there on the field.
Anthony Calvillo has completed 4 straight. Worst field position to start for the Alouettes at their own 16-yard line. Avon Coburn gets out to about the 19-yard line before he gets buried by Adriano Belli. By the way, Martel Mallet overtook Avon Coburn for the rushing lead in the league last night, but Coburn just 20 yards behind him.
That's some tough sledding last night, too, for Mallet. You know, getting plugged several times by a Saskatchewan defense that was hell-bent to stop a BC offense. Although BC put 507 yards of total offense on the board, you know, it was still a great ball game with BC, and Buck Pierce was absolutely brilliant late there in the ball game. It was very heartfelt, you know, effort by him to get that victory last night. But Martel Mallet's probably feeling some bumps and bruises from that hard-nosed Saskatchewan defense.
Anthony Calvillo to Ben Cahoon, another first down for the Alouettes.
Yeah, 2nd and 9. You know, you're looking at, you know, the timing route to Cahoon, a little bang route there, a little deeper than normal. You know, just come in there, give him a little inside move, which he likes to go to. Pivot on the inside foot, snap it out, ball's delivered on time, move the chains.
From the 31, fake to Coburn, swing it out, and the pass is caught by Brian Bratton. Bratton fighting for space, gets out to the 40-yard line. Monte Edwards there on the coverage. And to be a couple of yards short of a Montreal first down.
This guy, Gord, I've been watching for a number of years now come along in the Alouettes offense, and I really believe that, you know, he's one of these guys that is just now scratching, you know, and tapping into his full potential. I think he's a dynamic player. He had, you know, he played well for him down the stretch last year. I think he's a big-time receiver that doesn't know how good he can be right now, but as he continues to work within this lineup, you'll continue to see him be more and more productive, I'm sure of it.
Kerry Watkins still doesn't have a catch in the football game. And here's Coburn. Easy first down and more across midfield to the Toronto 53-yard line. Devontae Edwards and Alfonso Hodge make the tackle, but not before the gain by Avon Coburn of 17 yards.
Reminiscent of last week by the offensive line, dominating up front, getting a hat on a hat. Look at the daylight. You know, as a running back, you're asked to press the hole, and then bang. Jump cut it to the backside, run to daylight. It's exactly what Coburn does there, and it exploits what has been a tremendous defensive effort here by the Argonauts, keeping their team in the ball game.
So much for the poor field position.
Yeah. 3 plays in their midfield.
First down from the Argo 53, and there's Larry Taylor, drops it as Calvillo swung it up to Taylor, who had just come in to join the Montreal offense.
You talk about a well-oiled machine. You're going to have pressure by the Toronto Argonauts off the edge, and AC feels it, and they got the right play called, getting the play out quickly to Taylor, and he just can't find the handle on it, puts it on the ground. If he had a long way to run because he had blocking out in front of him. There's the pressure coming on AC. He feels it. He's got the right play called, and Larry Taylor's caught peeking upfield before he secures the football.
Second and 10. Calvillo's under pressure again, and he is dropped again. Sacked by Kevin Huntley. 4th sack of the first half for the Toronto Argonaut defense.
Nathan Calvillo is a little upset too. Look at that. You know, that is not a, you know, that's not a happy camper there, and he's up 10-0, and he's been knifing this Toronto defense pretty much at will, but he's tired of getting hit already. This is the 4th sack, and the big man Kevin Huntley just throwing him around like a rag down. And believe me, folks, that's not a good place to be. That hurts, that's painful, and AC let his teammates know about it.
High kick by Duval, taken by Dorsey at the 25-yard line. Flags are down. That'll be no yards, but Dorsey's got other ideas. Gets around the corner, and Duval once again makes the tackle as Dorsey gets up to the 40-yard line. A 35-yard punt, a 14-yard return. We're back after this. The Alouettes had allowed only 20 sacks coming into this game. The Argos have 4 in this game, tying the season high given up by Montreal.
Yeah, you saw defense coordinator Pete Harcheck there talking to his troops, and he's really pleased right now with their effort because they are laying a licking on Anthony Calvillo and bringing all kinds of pressure. And it stems from those big boys up front. We talked about them early, but they are collapsing the pocket. They are encompassing Anthony Calvillo from the edge and then pressing the pocket and swarming him. And he's got that, and they've got that offensive line of Montreal confused right now. And Anthony Calvillo is not a happy camper.
Fake to Jeff Johnson and swing it back out, so the pass falls incomplete. The Bluebirds are out in Toronto. But you know, Mark Trestman was talking yesterday about the Toronto defense and saying all the right things about how good their front four was, how good their linebackers are. And you're thinking, well, that's just Trestman not wanting to rile up the opposition.
No, that's
right.
That's the truth. Everybody's talking about them because they are a formidable bunch across the board. You've got Harriet, Huntley, Belly, Flemings, and you got Brown back. You Etienne Laguerre, you got Walter Curry. That's a great group, and they keep rotating them in there, keeping them fresh. You better be concerned with them.
Pickett slings it, and the pass goes to Jason Carter, but it is incomplete as he bobbled it. And once again, the Argos will be forced to punt. And as good as this defense has been, Matt, it can't stay on the field all day.
It really can't. You know, that's with any football team, and we're certainly seeing it unfold this afternoon. But, you know, this is the play you have to make. Cody Pickett's been struggling to find receivers downfield. He puts this ball on the money, and in a second and long situation once again, and receivers got to make that play. That's the difference in a good football team that's winning games and a team that's looking to become a good football team.
Medlock once again back to punt. High kick to Taylor at the 25-yard line. Beats the first wave, flags are down, but he gets just a yard out to the 26-yard line. So Medlock has been busy. That's the 5th punt of the game for the Argo kicker, and the Alouette offensive line will go back to work after trying to sort out what's been going wrong.
Yeah, and Anthony, you know, will not show much frustration, but when he got sacked for the 4th time in this ball game earlier, he wouldn't let anybody touch him. He's like, get away from me. Don't touch me. Just do your job. And he went and cooled off on the sidelines, collected his thoughts, and this is a tight-knit group, an experienced group that right now is getting pressured up front. They got to figure that out, get a bead on it, and have a better blitz adjustment package right now. We saw him earlier call the right play to Larry Taylor on a little slip screen. They couldn't convert on it, but those are the type of plays you got to have and execute so you get rid of the ball quickly.
Avon Coburn on first down, gets out to the 23-yard line, a gain of 8. Nick Moreno with the stop. By the way, the Owls were called for holding on the return, which forces them back to their 15-yard line. And the Argo defense has put up some respectable numbers this season. The problem is offensively, Toronto ranks near the bottom of the league in almost every category.
It seems like a broken record no matter who's the head coach, you know, and it seems like this offense has been trying to find a rhythm for a number of years now, and they just really haven't been able to put it together since their 05 run to the Grey Cup. And to me, it's, you know, the defense has been the best part of this football team, certainly special teams with the addition of Medlock. You get Dorsey back. You know, but you can't win with 2. You got to win with 3 faces in the game.
More good defense by the Argos. Claude Harriet stops Avon Coburn, and that will force Montreal to punt again.
A lot of talk about, you know, getting Jonathan Brown back, but this guy right here, Claude Harriet, playing that play perfectly, just doing a nice job of watching his responsibility, making sure that AC's not pulling that football, then squeezing it down, and then being the man there to put Coburn down. That's good, solid, fundamental gap cancellation, meaning everybody's responsible for a gap, and that's what he did there. He squeezed everything down and made it happen and checked his responsibility and then became a football player.
Dorsey from the 45-yard line trying to get the corner, and does. But an illegal block is going to bring this back as Dorsey gets inside the 30. There's flags everywhere. 4 flags on the field. As Dorsey gets up to the 27, but chances are the Argos are going to be moving back. We return to Toronto.
Yeah, Bart Andrews cannot be happy. He says he's got to have a more disciplined football team, averaging 12.5 penalties for 109 yards a game. And here, that's just not smart football. And it takes away a huge run, and it takes away what this guy does for you and what he produces. And Dominic Dorsey's ability to change field position because you were not disciplined on special teams. And Andre Dury did not need to do that.
Wiped out a 38-yard return. An earlier penalty wiped out a 16-yard gain. And Jamal Robertson gets a couple up to the 40-yard line. The Argonauts have been penalized for more than 1,300 yards this year, by far the most in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, you know, you start talking about that, you do the numbers, and it's quite devastating. It's the length of the football field that you're giving up every game. The length of the football, almost 110 yards of penalties every game. That's field position, that's scoring opportunities. Those are missed chances. Those are giving other teams more opportunities, and it all adds up to a 3-9 record and hanging on by the...
What's left of your fingernail?
There you go.
Second and long, and the pass is complete to Brad Smith. Smith gets a first down up to the 54-yard line. Got rocked there by Gerald Brown, but it's a gain of 14 yards. And Toronto has another first down.
Good composure right here because by Cody Pickett, because you've got Anwar Stewart coming right here on Ramsey as he ducks his head, gets out of his cylinder, and Stewart takes him down, slams his head in the turf, but Pickett stays focused, delivers the football, gets small when he had to. Brad Smith coming up, moving the chains for the Argonauts.
Second first down of the game for Toronto. Fake to Robertson, throw it underneath. The pass is incomplete for Chad Lucas. Tells you something about Toronto's receiving core that Jamal Robertson comes into the game leading the Argos in receptions.
Yeah, very tentative offensively, not really willing to push the football down the field. I'm a big fan of that, if you haven't realized that yet, Gordo. But, you know, it's just challenging the defense for the sake of challenging the defense. And Len Suter always says on telecast quite often, he says, Matty, you can never, you know, I've always said it to him whenever we're playing against each other, you can never go wrong when you go long. But the Argonauts, you know, indicative of Robertson catching so many balls, just dumping it down.
Pickett slings it this time. It's complete to Chad Lucas. Another first down to the 35-yard line. Tackle made by Chip Cox, and there's some splicing up the field.
Yeah, and this is what you need. You know, we got to push the ball down the field, and this is a nice throw, a timing throw. Pass the ball before he throws it. Got to get rid of that. He goes up tall and catches it. And, you know, it's a simple little dig route. Gets his depth. Etambule slips coming out of his break, trying to redirect. Gives quarterback Cody Pickett just enough time to fit that ball in there. And Argonauts are threatening.
Give it back to Robertson on first down. He'll get down to the 31-yard line for a pickup of 4. John Bowman there to make the stop. Some pushing and shoving breaks out. We saw a lot of that last week between Toronto and Winnipeg.
Yeah, we did.
Players ejected. Moreno and Shivers were ejected. Adriano Belli was one of several players fined after that game.
I think there are 8 fined altogether, you know, and justifiably so. But Belli and Doug Brown last week, that was a joke. They weren't fighting. They were playing. You know, those are big boys, you know. Both of them well over 6'5", Brown closer to 6'9", you know, 300-pounders. They were just having fun. They weren't fighting.
Pickett slings it, and again the catch is made by Jason Carter, able to squeeze it down the 20-yard line. Gerald Brown unloaded on him, but this time Jason Carter is able to hang on. First down for the Argos, who are knocking on the door. The 3-minute warning has arrived, and we'll be back to Toronto on the CFL on TSN after this. .249 to go in the first half. The Toronto Argonauts have driven the ball down inside the Alouette 20. This will be the 7th play of this drive. Pickett looking to the end zone. Flags are down. Has a man incomplete. There's a flag in the end zone as well. He was looking down there for PK Sam. There's a flag at the line of scrimmage and another at the goal line.
The officials on the field just emptied their wallets there, their pockets.
Well, the first call is holding against Toronto. The second call is interference against Montreal. Not contact, but pass interference.
Here comes Bud Steen. Gord.
Holding, Toronto 56. Pass interference, Montreal 39. Their offsetting penalties will repeat first down.
Here's the holding penalty right here. You're gonna see Rob Murphy. You know, I hate to do this to you, big man, but you know, Stewart got inside on you and you had to lock up on him, and you did what you had to do. And then you're gonna see inside move right here and the damage going on, and that's just kind of playing football there. And
Gerald Brown was called there, so it's first down over
PK
again.
says, get off of me. You can't hold me.
First down for the 19. Here's Robertson. The blockers in front of him, but Chip Cox gets in behind them, and there is no gain as he's thrown out of bounds at the 19-yard line. It'll bring up second down.
Chip Cox is a good story. You know, he used to be a defensive halfback. He was constantly getting himself in trouble with pass interference and being too physical in the back end. So they move him up to the line of scrimmage, closer to the heat, closer to the contact, and he's been a tremendous addition and a great position change for this young man, because he can cover, but he loves contact, and there he played that play very nicely and rode Jamal Robertson right out of bounds.
John Bowman is down on the play for the Alouette defense. We'll take a break and return after this. And Bowman is up, so we'll stay, and we've got 2:29 to go in the first half. And the Argonauts with 2nd and 10 from the 19-yard line. And a chance to put some much-needed points on the board, something they did not do in the first meeting. The 25-0 loss was a major embarrassment for the Argos, who had not been shut out in 17 years.
Since '92. Yeah, that's a long time. It shouldn't be shut out.
Weren't you an Argo then?
No. 1991, then I was a bomber.
Oh, must have been when you left. Yeah, you left, and that's how they got shut out.
Well, I don't know. Foggy was in charge.
You just gooned Ricky Foggy 10 years after he retired.
Ricky Foggy was the best backup quarterback in the history of the Canadian football.
You made up for it. 2nd and 10 from the 19-yard line. Pickett sets it up way back at the 35-yard line, and he'll throw it upfield. It's incomplete. He was trying to find Jamal Robertson. It'll be 3rd down, and the Argos will be forced to try a field goal.
Just blanketed across the football field. Tremendous defensive coverage by the Alouettes. Nobody is open. A man is on a man. Free safety. Boulet's coming over the top, helping out. Guzman's all over Robertson, going down the sidelines. Nowhere for Cody Pickett to distribute that football and try to move the chains. Basically had to throw it away, giving Medlock a chance to put this team on the board for the first time here today.
Medlock has made 6 in a row. This attempt for the 27-yard line. It's tipped at the line of scrimmage. Falls at the goal line, so the field goal is blocked. And the Argos will get one. Chip Cox appeared to get a hand on that. And nothing going right for the Argos in this first half.
There goes a shutout. This is, we talked about it. Offense, defense, special teams. This team is up, and they're basically dominating the line of scrimmage. Maybe not so much on the offensive side of the football, but they don't give up in this situation and just give up 3. They continue to pressure, get a hand up. Holding Toronto just to 1 point. Ball seemed to come out low. Seemed like a good hold, good decent snap. Ball came out low, able Montreal to get a hand on it. To me, that's why they're 10-2 at this point, Gordon.
From the 35-yard line, Calvillo fires upfield, and Jamal Richardson makes the catch up to the 52-yard line for a quick first down. The Owls make those first downs look very easy.
Yeah, it really is easy when you got experienced veterans out there like that. You don't have, watch the vision that he has. Nobody's in his face, big lane to throw through, and he just basically coming off the bump or the mound, you know, coming off the rubber and throwing the #1, the heater, right down the middle and completing an easy pass to one of his favorite receivers, Jamal Richardson.
On first down, Calvillo has time, and now swings it underneath. And this time the catch is made by Coburn. He's wrapped up quickly on the play as Ronald Flemings makes the stop. Pardon me, that's Kerry Carter making the stop. So lots of Montreal fans here in attendance today. Pretty good week for Montreal against Toronto. The Canadiens came in and beat the Maple Leafs in their home opener on Thursday night, and then they get to come down and enjoy some football here on Saturday.
Yeah, and it was an overtime win by the Habs, right?
Yeah, it was.
And you know, it looks like, I don't know if they're going to go OT here. A lot of football yet to be played. Certainly these two cities going after it.
And Calvillo able to complete that pass to Brian Bratton. Meantime, for Toronto, kind of a tough week when you think about it. J.P. Ricciardi fired as the GM of the Blue Jays today.
Didn't see that coming.
Argos lose a tough one in Winnipeg. Leafs lose their home opener. Tell you what, if they outlaw cafe lattes, that qualifies a disaster in Toronto.
Yeah, I would think so. And it's been raining. It's been, fall is definitely here. Winter's around the corner. We'll use a beverage.
You can always use one. First down for the Alouettes from the 48-yard line. A minute and a half to go in the opening half. Calvillo under pressure again, and this time he slings it away. He was kind of looking for Avon Coburn. Ronald Flemings got in almost. Toronto's 5th sack of the game.
Desperation here by Anthony, not wanting to get hit or taken down to the ground again and give up any more field position than they have to. But you know, it's Flemings that is all over him right here. He's working on Bork, who just throws him down like he's a elementary school kid on the playground, and gets in AC's face and throws him to throw the ball away in desperation.
Last 2 weeks, the first half score is 31-1 Alouettes. Second and long, Calvillo slinging, looking down the field for Watkins, but that pass is way over his head, incomplete. And that'll bring up 3rd down for the Alouettes.
Yeah, you know, you can see it. You know, it's real simple. You know, AC's thinking deep. Kerry Watkins is looking at how the route is unfolding in front of him, and his defender's high and over the top. AC wants to push it there. He's thinking to go outside. Kerry Watkins goes inside. He shuts down the route, and the ball's overthrown by 15 yards. Just lack of communication there on that play. It happens to the best of them, as we saw there.
Dorsey waits back at the 5-yard line for the punt from Duval. He angles that towards the sideline expertly. It goes out in the end zone. Out the side, and so the Alouettes will add to their lead, and we'll tell you that on Monday, TSN2 brings you exclusive NHL action as the New York Rangers go across the river to take on Marty Brodeur and the Devils. Live coverage Monday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on TSN2. So Cody Pickett gets instructions from head coach Bart Andrus. How long will it be before we see Kerry Joseph in the second half?
What's missing out of that picture there that we just saw? What's missing there? Kerry Joseph. You know, he needs to be involved in that conversation. You know, just keep his head in the ball game. He's down in another position on the field, and to me, that's not a good sign. You need to have Pickett, Andrus, Joseph right there communicating, trying to get this back on track.
Pickett slings it deep, and it's way over the head of Chad Lucas. That'll bring up 2nd and long. Back on the coverage was Davis Sanchez.
They've opened it up here a little bit, certainly in the second quarter, trying to push the ball down the field.
Pickett is 7 for 16 for 70 yards. He's under 50%.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough. And we've seen him rebound. You know, he's come a long way in his short time here in the Argonaut uniform with limited amount of starts. But that's just not good enough at this point against this defensive football team.
Lots of time for Pickett. Tries the other side, and once again over the head of Chad Lucas. And Pickett took a wicked shot at the end of that play. And that'll bring up 3rd down for the Argos.
It looks like Karan Williams, if I'm not mistaken, says that ball's going to be errant. The ball's going to be overthrown because I'm in your face. Not going to let you follow through. bring the ball down, which you need to do. In order to get the ball down and throw it on target, you got to be able to follow through. And a quarterback doesn't have the chance to follow through. He's got people living in his face like Ron Williams was there. The ball's going to sail on you. The ball's going to be incomplete or get picked off.
Medlock to punt for the 7th time in the first half. Good high kick sends Taylor back to his 25-yard line. And Taylor lost the football. Flags are down. And a battle for the ball. Looked like Delroy Clark was in there. It's a 50-yard punt, but who recovered it? We have not had a turnover yet in the football game. And it does appear to be Alouettes' ball. Although there is no official signal yet as the referees huddle. Here's the penalty call.
Major foul, clipping, Montreal, number 41. It's 15-yard penalty, and it's first down.
Alouettes recover, but they'll be penalized 15 yards.
Eric Taylor trying to squeeze through there and get smaller, I should say.
I think he recovered his own fumble.
Ball pops out. When you do put the ball on the ground, I mean, you are very motivated to get that thing back. It's good that Larry Taylor did.
On first down, this is Coburn up to the 20-yard line. 32 seconds to go in the first half. And the stop is made by Toronto's Willie Pyle.
Could have been devastating there.
Yeah.
Put the ball on the ground, give Toronto such a short field to work with, let them get back in the ball game here. As dismal as the offense has been, you know, one play there in the end zone, you're back in the game. Good for Larry Taylor to recover that. Get out of this half and regroup in the second half. See if you can light it up here.
Second and about 5 for the Alouettes. And the give is once again to Coburn. It'll be short of a first down. That's Carter, rather. And we remind you that coming up, we've got Rona at the half with Chris Schultz, Jock Climbing, Milt Stiegel taking the Matt Dunnigan chair of football philosophy. And your host, Dave Randorf.
Avon Colborn's been on the sidelines here the last couple of series. He's just taking a knee down there, and helmet's off. Talking to him yesterday, you know, I noticed watching him play that he's got a little hitch in his gait when he runs. When he opened it up last week for a long run, he was dragging his right leg through, and he told me that was from an old injury that he had from high school. And he's going to look into that. We're talking about his hip flexors, you know, right above his quads, you know, that brings your leg through, and there could be a problem there. Those may be loosened up a little bit, but he knows he's got a little bit of tightness and discrepancy in his leg strength, and his right leg is definitely something that he was concerned with yesterday. He's wearing compression bandages on both shins just because of the pounding he's been taking. I asked him if he ever wears soccer shin guards, and he said, well, I tried it once, I wasn't comfortable with them, you know, but basically he was in pretty good shape, but interested to see why he's not in the ball game at this point.
Alouettes came up short. It's 3rd and short. Adrian McPherson at a quarterback. He will take it straight ahead. Needed a couple of inches. And some more pushing and shoving breaks out of the bottom of that pile. And now 4 seconds remaining in the opening half, and the Alouettes will likely just run it out as Calvillo comes back in. So an impressive defensive performance by the Toronto Argonauts in the opening half to limit the Montreal offense. However, Toronto's offense has done very little against a very tough Montreal defense.
That's a good way to put it, limit. They certainly have. They've stopped a lot of the bleeding here in the first half by some pressure defensively, and really putting a yeoman's effort out there on a talented, as we know, offensive unit in Montreal.
Considering the excellent field position the Alouettes enjoy, the Argonauts are fortunate to be only down by 10. 11-1 is the score after 30 minutes. Some Argo fans are displeased, but their team is still in it after 30 minutes.
Live at the Half is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
And welcome back to our CFL on TSN studios. Dave Randorf along with Jock Climbing, Milt Stiegel, and Chris Schultz, where it is 11-1 for Montreal. So we know Toronto's not going to get shut out by Montreal this time, again, like they were a couple of weeks ago. But not a big surprise.
You have a little faith.
Well, you know what? It's tough to watch them offensively. It's tough.
They've got a rouge.
It's tough to watch them offensively. It really is. They have not been an entertaining offensive product for years, and we're seeing it again. And so let me ask you this about Cody Pickett. I'm just telling you like it is.
Ooh,
okay?
That's rare
so here's the thing with Cody Pickett. When he was handed the starting job, he came out of the gate with back-to-back 300-yard passing games. We saw a little promise, and he's gone downhill ever since in terms of those numbers. Has not thrown a touchdown pass in his last 4 and now a half games. What has happened there?
I just think he's lost some of that confidence that he had early. You know, sometimes it's better just not to know. Sometimes it's better just to go out there and wing it. And I think Cody is now trying to fit within a system. And we saw that early in this football game where he was just trying to complete footballs. I mean, this is 2nd and 10, and he dumps it to a running back in the backfield. That drove me crazy. And then finally in the second quarter, he started zinging it down the field. He got a drop there, comes right back, hits another dig, and then comes back, and finally he gets a catch on exactly the same play over the middle. This is what he needs to do. You can't be thinking too much out there. You need to be pushing the ball down the field like Matt Dunning was talking about. He's trying to be too controlled. He's trying to have a 75% completion passing game. It's not what he does, but Dave, to answer your question, I'm not sure he's good enough. I'm not sure he's going to be ever an elite quarterback, but I know he's better than what he's shown in the last few weeks.
Well, he needs his teammates to help him out also. You know, he has some players out there who aren't making plays, and Toronto, when they get an opportunity, they got to take advantage of it. We can't continually see these mistakes if they want to win this game. And you look at these plays, they're a sequence of plays. This is the first big play they have, the PK Sam. And what happens? They have an offsides penalty by receivers. Receivers should never be offsides. So they have to punt the ball. And then you give the ball to Anthony Cavillo. And you don't need to give him the ball too many times. So what happens? Jason Pottinger, this is your chance to shine, son. Make the sack. No disrespect to the defense, they have 4 sacks, but everybody will remember the one that got away. And what happens the ensuing play? Anthony Cavillo, he's going to find a way. Jason Richardson, touchdown. Now, Toronto, they can't continue with these mistakes if they want to win the game. When you're playing against a team like Montreal, every chance you get, you have to shine, because if not, these things will continue to happen.
Sometimes going into football games, I honestly believe that coaches overcoach their players, that they don't necessarily make it too simplistic or too complicated, but they make the players reserved in how they play. And I think sometimes that's what happens to Toronto's offense, and sometimes that's why you see the mistakes so consistently. But on defense, these Argonauts have had a great game. Now, there's 2 ways to look at defense. You either allow an offense to make a mistake, or you force the issue, and you go after that quarterback with everything you got. And time again, in this football game, the defensive line, the blitz package for the Argonauts has been successful. And if they can continue this, they have a chance. There is not a huge disparity of points here in this football game. If you're in the locker room with the Toronto Argonauts, you should be very optimistic. One of those guys has to stand up, reiterate the score, and say, guys, we got a shot.
And that's the thing. They do.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you're right. Their defense ranked in the top 3 in 9 defensive categories, so they have kept them in it just like they did last week in Winnipeg. But they got to get the points on the board, and we shall see. 10-point gap right now.
Their muscles big time.
Lots of time, swings it out. Jamel Richardson, touchdown.
Jamel Richardson says thank you very much.
Welcome back. Later tonight, we are back on the air at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the last game of Week 14. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to be in McMahon Stadium to take on the defending Grey Cup champions. And interesting situation now for Hamilton as they're coming off a loss. And now Winnipeg won last night. They beat Edmonton 27-17. So all of a sudden, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are breathing down Hamilton's neck for 2nd place in the East, Chelsea.
For 2nd place, and I'm going to preference all my comments before I say something by saying I have a lot of respect for everything that is the Hamilton Ticats. But it is time to play Kevin Glenn as a quarterback. There's 6 games left. That's 6 opportunities to get 2nd place, a reality shot in the East. Kevin Glenn gets rid of the football quicker. He gets rid of the football more efficiently. He had a chemistry with Orland Bruce. He is the guy that needs to get into this game if the game gets out of hand. I think that's a question that has to be confronted. And if they do not make the playoffs, or if they regress for the end of this season, it'll get down to this quarterback issue. And I think it is easy to assess, and I think it's your buddy, Kevin Glenn.
And I hate to sound redundant, but they have to play Kevin Glenn. You know, Porter, they keep saying he's the future. Why can't Kevin be the future? He's 30 years old. Give this man a chance to start. I talk to Kevin all the time, and he's not going to publicly come out and say it, but he's frustrated. He has to be the man. This has to be his team, and those other players are getting frustrated right now because they know Quentin Porter doesn't give them the best chance to win.
Really? And you've come full circle on that, haven't you?
I've got, what is it, 180
degrees.
Yes.
No. He's been loving Kevin Glenn for weeks now.
But he was a big Porter guy.
Huge Quentin Porter guy.
When he threw for 300 yards, you're a big Porter guy. Funny how he had one bad game and all of a sudden out with
his physical look. I mean, he's tall.
All right. Let's take a quick look at the West Division standings as they sit right now. As there was 3 of the West Division teams were in action last night. BC wins a very gritty performance, gutsy performance by Buck Pierce at home against Saskatchewan. So the Riders stand still. Edmonton, as I mentioned, losing. So BC and Edmonton tied. Calgary with a shot now. So basically nothing's changed except for BC getting 2 points, and Calgary has a shot, Jock, to take over first place all to themselves.
You know, the West is so tight that we are, for the rest of the season, I think, going to be talking about teams being in a position to take over first or looking at a crossover. And, you know, we were talking about the crossover thing, and Dave never likes to talk crossover unless it's like week 18. Well, I like to talk about it at this point because I think teams have to be thinking about it. You know, Calgary, they've got Montreal, Saskatchewan, and Edmonton coming up. So if they were to lose this football game, those are 3 tough games coming up. So you're not thinking that the Calgary Stampeders have to be thinking about first place, but also mindful of the fact that they are in a very tough division and at any point could now be planning on coming over and playing a Hamilton or a Winnipeg. So
they're thinking about first place, John.
And they should. There's no question that that's your mindset. But when you are playing in a tight division like this, I think you have got to be thinking not so much about wins and losses, but about playing consistent, good football. So you're always in position to succeed when you get to the playoffs, whoever that may be you're facing.
Calgary has won 4 of its last 5 games. The one loss was kind of a disappointing effort in Hamilton, but they really got it together last week at home against BC. Here are your stats for this game we are watching today, brought to you by Tim Hortons Always Fresh.
Well, there's nothing that's really surprising. You look at the Toronto's offense, and it's pretty much standard, 82 yards total offense, 162 yards for Montreal. But the one thing that is really surprising is 4 sacks by this Toronto Argonaut defense. Montreal doesn't give up many sacks. If Toronto can continue that, they have a great chance of winning this game.
Thank you, Milton. Corey Warren is here in the studio with a Sports Center update. News from the Blue Jays, right?
Yeah, big news from the Blue Jays. Now, remember when they had that hot start to the season? Everybody was hoping that by the final weekend of the year, the Blue Jays would be making all kinds of headlines. Well, again, they are today, but all for the wrong reasons, as they have fired their general manager, J.P. Ricciardi, today. Ricciardi had held the position since November 2001. Now, none of the teams that he assembled made it to the postseason. Assistant GM Alex Anthopoulos will take over the role, and this all comes with rumors about a clubhouse revolt against Cito Gaston. On TSN2, the Panthers and Hawks from Helsinki today. It was 1-0 Hawks when Patrick Kane finds the rebound for his second of the year. Then it's Patrick Sharp who slides it past Thomas Vokoun. That made it 3-0. Hawks go on to win it 4-0 the final. Just remember, we got all your highlights coming up on SportsCenter, 6:30 Eastern. Every team is in action in the NHL today, and we'll, of course, have much more on the Blue Jays. Back to football after this.
$11-1 the score at halftime. And before we start the second half, Catherine Dolan with Toronto coach Bart Andrus.
Coach, the defense obviously having a big impact in the first half. How have you thought about their performance?
I feel good. We're playing very well on defense. We're getting to the passer. We're covering fairly well. I think that if we can keep that up, our defense is giving us a chance in the second half.
Will we see Kerry Joseph in the second half?
It's a good possibility right now. Yeah, we need a spark right now. We need to move the ball. We've been in position to make some plays. We didn't make them, and we just need to step up and make some plays on offense in this second half.
Great, thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
And you see Kerry Joseph loosening up on the Toronto sideline. How soon would you go to him, Matt?
Now, yeah, you're looking at 3 and 10 right in the face in another 30 minutes if you don't change the tide right now. And he's another athlete, brings a different dimension to the game. You got to get him going, pushing the football down the field, strong arming it, making plays with his legs. I'd put him in now.
Alouettes will open with possession here in the second half as Brian Bratton and Larry Taylor are back to receive the kickoff. Taylor from the 10. Taylor with a head of speed, looking for a seam out across the 30 to the 34-yard line. And he's brought down on the play by Brian Crawford, and you can see what the two quarterbacks have done. And Cody Pickett 7 for 17. But not much happening as Calvillo has the only touchdown pass of the opening half.
Yeah, and that 7 of 17 is coming off a week last week. We was 13 of 22 for 98 yards before being pulled. So, you know, a bit of a revolving door here. The Argonauts just looking for any way to get some offensive production.
Alouettes lead the league in most plays from scrimmage, time of possession, most first downs, and most points.
You could probably keep going down that list, couldn't you?
Yes. There's Kerry Watkins with the catch. Will Poole makes the stop on Watkins' first catch of the football game. And just before play began here in the second half, Brian Chu gathered together his fellow offensive linemen along with Scott Floyd to try to rally the troops after the Alouettes allowed 4 sacks in that opening half.
Seems pretty low key there, you know, nothing hurrah, you know, people headbutting or nothing, you know, it's like, and probably good idea because they need to save their energy to contend with this Toronto defensive line.
Game was 8 at 2nd and 2. Calvillo, lots of time this time, fires over the middle. Another first down as he finds Ben Cahoon. Zeke Moreno there on the coverage.
A little zone coverage, and this is what Ben Cahoon can do. He can find that hole in that zone coverage, push up, push past the chain, sit down. AC sees him, got good vision, sticks it on the numbers, move the chains.
By the way, Avon Coburn did not come out for the second half. We'll get you a report in a moment. So there's one weapon the Alouettes are missing.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about that when we saw him on the sidelines there the last couple series and see Kerry Carter in the game. And that's a big weapon to take off the slate, have a chance to throw to.
Calvillo fires too far for Jamel Richardson, and Calvillo took a late shot there from Kevin Huntley.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, on a corner route, which is what Jamel Richardson is running, you know, as a quarterback, you want to bring him back to the sidelines, and I think that was the right spot for that football to be thrown to, but, you know, not enough air in it and just miscommunication, which happens, and because they had him there and misfired on that play. Good thing for the Argonauts, forcing Montreal in a second and long situation. See if we can see some pressure here.
4-man rush. Calvillo lots of time underneath. Cahoon at midfield, and he is thrown down hard by Zeke Moreno, well short of a Montreal first down.
Yeah, you said it, Gord. 4-man rush, and they drop off into zone coverage because they know it's second and long, and they play everything underneath them, and they make Anthony Calvillo to dump it down, and you'll see him find Cahoon coming across the middle on a little drag. He's forced to put it in there. Otherwise, he's pushing the football into coverage and possibility of a turnover. So they dump it down. Moreno's there. He knows it, makes the tackle, and forces the
Card is alive with 37.
Dorsey back at his 10-yard line to receive this punt.
Hey, let him go!
And once again, Duval aiming for the sideline. But Dorsey will field it at the 5. Backing up, and Dorsey picks his way up to the 15-yard line, which is where the Toronto Argonauts will start. A 52-yard punt, a return of 12, and Terry Joseph will direct the attack when we come back. CFL on TSN is closed captioning brought to you by Sport Check. The power of sport. There's Kerry Joseph. Well, last week he came off the bench for the Toronto Argonauts. He was 11 of 21. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Matt, in his last 5 games, 1 touchdown pass, 11 interceptions.
Yeah, you know, and it's a tough situation to be in because you're coming in off the bench a lot of the time.
Up and throwing right away, and completes that pass to PK Sam. And Sam forced out at the 20.
Sorry, Gordon, but what happens is when you come off the bench, you know, usually you're behind. Quarterback in front of you's been struggling. You know, the game may be out of reach, and you're asked to, you know, push the football, make things happen, and you start doing things that you wouldn't normally do. With this game being as close as it is right now, as far as score is concerned, you know, I would expect Kerry Joseph to play within himself, and to be a smart, experienced quarterback, which he can play like that. We know. We've seen him do it in the past in '07 when he was the most outstanding player in the league.
Taking his 5. Joseph fakes to Robertson, throws underneath for Jeff Johnson, and Johnson pushed out at the 25-yard line, right where the first down marker was. Chip Cox is the man who pushed him out. And it'll be very close, but I think he's short of a first down.
Yeah, very athletic play by Joseph right here. You know, point fake, drop. He got pressure in his face by Anwar Stewart. Strong arms it. Very accurate throw, giving Johnson a chance to actually move the chains. And that's what Joseph can do for you. You know, that's an off-balance throw, Gord, and you've got to muscle it out there. Otherwise, that running back, Jeff Johnson's not going to have a chance to turn up and make a first down.
Argos are gambling on 3rd and about a 1/3 of a yard.
Wow.
Joseph goes off left tackle, gets about 3. There's a gutsy call on 3rd and short.
That kind of shows you the desperation that the Argonauts are in right now, staring 3 and 10 in their face. And Joseph goes left, and then he takes a hard right when he finds the little gap and picks up a critical first down, backed up in their own end. Well, that's something you don't see very often, you know, a quarterback having that patience, because any penetration there will actually kill you. And now you put Montreal in position to put an easy score on the board. But worked out for the Argonauts.
Joseph from the shotgun gives it off to Robertson, trying the corner. Robertson across the 30 and out to the 32-yard line, and the tackle is made by Etienne Boulay, the safety.
Etienne Boulay, you know, he's down, you know, inside, close to the tackle box, and you can see him right there, right next to the umpire in the middle of the field. And then he's going to show you what he does, I think, best, and that's run. He's got tremendous speed, and he tracks Robertson down and pulls him down for a minimal gain.
By the way, Matthew Pruill back in the lineup for the Alouettes. He was placed on the 9-game injured list, but a team once a year could pull a player off that list early.
Yeah, and he's very valuable. As good as Etienne Boulay is back there, blue and whatnot, they will.
Joseph looking deep, and the pass is incomplete for Brad Smith.
Okay, I'm not, this is nothing against Brad Smith, but you know, when they actually do want to throw a deep ball, is this your choice that you're going to throw the ball to, Brad Smith, on a go pattern? I mean, he's got him there, and he just misses him. And, you know, if they complete that ball, I'm still having the same conversation with you, because, you know, is he the fastest guy on the team? Is he the matchup you want one-on-one with the DB going down the field on a jet route or a go pattern? I'm not sure that's the case, but they miscommunicated or misfired in that play, and they're punting anyway.
Medlock chases Taylor back to his 30-yard line. And Larry Taylor has some room to run. Taylor still going. Gets up to the 47-yard line. The stop is made by Toronto's James Green. A 16-yard return of a 48-yard punt. The sack tally is brought to you by Purolator, where business is going. For every sack in today's game, Purolator will donate the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. BC with 3 last night to take the lead. This week tied with Montreal. The Alouettes have 1. How about the Toronto Argonauts have 4 sacks in the game? Anwar Stewart is 1 away from overtaking Alfred Payton as the all-time sack leader for the Alouettes. And the Alouettes will go to work on offense as the flag is down, and Calvillo is intercepted by Kevin Ivan. Flags are down, but Ivan is inside Montreal territory to the 33-yard line. There are 2 flags on the play. Bart Andrus waits in desperate anticipation. Holding is the first call against Montreal, but defensive holding against the Argos. And that is likely after the return. And so Toronto will get the football. Here's referee Bud Steen.
Holding Montreal number 58. That penalty is declined after the interception, and on the run back, we've got an illegal block against Toronto number 24. First down, Toronto.
Well, that will negate some of Ivan's return, but still, the Argos force the turnover.
Yeah, Luc Bourgier de Jordan, he's caught for the holding. And then, you know, Ivan, you know, that's a pretty simple pick there, you know, and Kevin Ivan was one of the fittest ball players on the field as far as his off-season training goes, and he simply is grateful for that game. But that starts again with the pressure up front from the Toronto D-line, and Luc Jourdain couldn't handle the pressure and had to hold, and that's nullified by the interception.
Still a costly penalty, though. The Alouettes, or the Argos, rather, will start at their own 45-yard line instead of at the Alouette 35. Now they try to end around to Chad Rimple, and he's forced out at about the 46-yard line for a gain of maybe 1. Chip Cox there on the stop.
Gerald Brown has the first shot at him on the little reverse, and Chip Cox sees it as well. And
it was Andre Dury on the carry.
And you know, this is just good defensive recognition. You know, he's coming off the edge. He's in position there to make the tackle. His head is behind the ball carrier. Therefore, ball carry easily. Andre Dury easily breaks that arm tackle, but Chip Cox is not going to have anything to do with that. He brings him down, and that's why he's close to the line of scrimmage, because he does have a nose for the football.
Andre Dury shaken up in one of the first plays of the football game. Early movement, flags are down. Joseph has time, slings it out there. PK Sam can't quite reach it. Looked as though Anwar Stewart might have been offside.
The penalty will repeat. Second down.
That'll bring up 2nd and 5.
Yeah, and Anwar's cheating. He got cut. You know, he's trying to get that jump start so he can maybe get that leading sack. Yeah, he's right here on the edge. Watch him. You know, I'm cheating. You caught me. And to me, you know, that's a fine line there. You know, he's trying to gauge that cadence. Now Kerry Joseph's in there. It's a little different than Pickett. So that threw him off a little bit, and therefore I'm pretty sure that's what happened. There's timing just wasn't timed up with Joseph's cadence.
Fake to Robertson. Joseph under pressure, fires, and the pass is incomplete for PK Sam, and the Argos will once again be forced to punt.
You got to make that catch. Your team needs you. You got to make that catch. I know the ball was difficult. I know it was not thrown in the ideal spot, but it's a catchable football, and you got to make that catch this time in the ball game. Give your team something to rally around. Kerry knows it. Kerry knows it. Come on, bend those knees, go down, slide. How many times? I mean, I've seen Climby do it. I've seen Milt Stiegel do it. Those guys back in the studio. That's a piece of cake. I mean, you see outfielders do it every day in baseball. Slide, catch that ball in your stomach, bounce up, and move, and get some more yaks.
Medlock with his 9th punt of the game. Bobbles the snap, pulls it back. No one's looking at him, and look at Medlock take off. He looked up, saw open field, and Medlock has a first down to the 40-yard line of the Alouettes.
That's just like unfolded for him, didn't it, Gord?
Look what I got. I got pocket aces here.
It's like a disease going through the league, you know, affecting our punters, you know, as Borum or Prefontaine or whether it's Medlock here. You know, this is good stuff. You know, these guys are very aware. You know, first of all, if he would have had gone and pulled the trigger on that, would have been blocked. So he felt that. Good decision. Mishandles it. Nope. The guy feels it, senses it, looks up, says, hey, wait a minute. Anything Borum, anything Prefontaine can do, I can do better. And that's a great heads-up play. A play that this football team needed at this point in the ballgame.
Gain was 19 yards. First down from the 40. Joseph gives it off to Robertson. He's tripped up as he gets to the 39. Last time these two teams played, Jamel Robertson was held to 20 yards on 6 carries. This week, he has 8 carries for 19 yards. So not much doing against this Montreal defense on the ground.
And, you know, I'm talking to Eric Wilson before the ball game, and he talks about how simple it is. You know what? He says, you know why we're so good? I mean, he didn't say that. He says, you know why people talk about us? Because we're not selfish. We play our gaps. We play our responsibilities. You know, we don't need that, you know, that individual, you know, sack. And that's what we do. We do it consistently better than most.
Joseph with time, fires, and the pass is complete to Chad Lucas. Lucas has a first down to the 29-yard line. Marcus Dell and Chip Cox there on the coverage, but Kerry Joseph now has the Argos moving.
And, you know, this is. I mean, we're giving you a replay of this. You know, this is pitch and catch. You know, this is a curl route. This is a number 5. This is a button hook for y'all old school people. You know, run up there 12 yards, get your defender out of his back pedal, turn around, the ball beyond the money, and then do something with it after. And you know, that's something they should be able to do just about every play, but we hadn't been able to see it consistently from the Argo offense.
First down, this is Robertson. This time he busts through across the 20 and down to the 16-yard line for another Toronto first down. And this is as close as the Argos have been to the Alouette goal line today.
Yeah, we'll see if they're gap conscious on this play. It's a good job of the offensive line opening up a hole for them and exploiting that gap and giving Robertson an opportunity for a little running room there finally.
Gain was 16, first down at the Montreal 16-yard line. Robertson again, and again he busts through. Robertson inside the 10, down to the 7-yard line. And is close with a first down. Anwar Stewart reached out and stopped him from getting to the end zone.
Yeah, he did. He's uncontained, and he's got to squeeze it and squeeze it in a hurry because Jamal is up in that hole. Here Anwar's right there. You see him squeeze it. He gets in front of Jeff Johnson and actually gets his hands on him, and Jeff's got to lead up through that hole, and he was a little late there. Looks like he had a little bust on his responsibility and enabled Anwar Stewart to cross his face and make the tackle.
Gain was 9. Robertson again, touchdown Toronto. With 4 carries on that drive for 28 yards and a big assist to punter Justin Medlock, who took off on 3rd down and kept the Argos alive. And now Medlock puts the point after up and through an 8-play 70-yard drive, and the Argos are back in it in Toronto. Jamal Robertson with his 8th touchdown of the year, an 8-play 70-yard march that chewed up 4 minutes and 46 seconds.
Added extra dimension here with Kerry Joseph in the lineup, and what happens is you've got to be contained conscious if you're Montreal Alouettes, and Joseph just hands that ball in there. You can see him slide outside for Joseph possibly getting the edge, and Robertson has a walk-in untouched. Exactly what the doctor ordered for the Argonauts. Tremendous drive for this football team, and Kerry Joseph kickstarting this offense.
Well, and a big assist to the Argonaut defense, which has really buckled down here and held the Alouettes in check when it looked as though Montreal might blow the game open. Medlock sends it deep. Here's Taylor from the 5. Wedge is set up. Here comes Taylor up the field, and he gets whacked at the 30-yard line. Belted there by Andre Duray, and here's a look at the Toronto touchdown mark.
It all started with Justin Medlock, smart heads-up play. First of all, avoiding a block punt, pulls it down, sees he's got room, and does a Bourne/Prefontaine. Joseph on just a little curl route finds Lucas moving the chains. One time inside, the Alouettes did not gap contain there, and the Argonauts opened up a big hole. And then the dimension of Joseph being able to get the edge as a quarterback really opens up a big hole for Robertson in the middle for a walk-in touchdown.
First down. Fake to Carter, swinging up to Kerry Watkins, and Watkins steps out at the 37. And Matt, the point needs to be made that the Argo defense came into this game without quarterbacks Jordan Younger and Willie Milbrooks. They're hurt. They traded a corner, Byron Parker, to Edmonton earlier in the week. So they have very, very inexperienced defensive backs playing against the league's best receiving corps.
Yeah, not many reps on the field, but they've been in this system for quite a long time. And Bart Andrews alluded to that, you know, in trading Byron Parker away, that they felt comfortable with the guys that have been here, and they trust them. And pretty much you've not heard Devontae Edwards, who plays the short side corner's name very much today, which is a good thing for a corner. And to the field side corner, you've got Will Poole out there, and you haven't heard much of him either. So to me, they're playing exceptionally well because we haven't talked about him.
There's a big gain by Jamal Richardson. The stop is made by Lynn J. Shell, but not before a gain of 19 yards and a Montreal first down.
Yeah, and that's going to come on the inside, I believe, and you know, which a lot of throws do for Anthony Calvillo and his experienced receivers, exploiting the middle of that zone defense, which Toronto likes to play, and that's pretty much easy pitch and catch for those two experienced vets.
Calvillo's under pressure again, and he is stopped as he crossed the line of scrimmage. Jonathan Brown makes the tackle. Catherine Dolan now with an update on some Montreal injuries.
Guys, Avon Coburn has not come out of the dressing room in the second half. They obviously assessed him. He has a groin injury, and as a precautionary measure, he will not be coming back into this game. Diamond Ferry also out. He has a left ankle injury. He could potentially be back.
There's Diamond Ferry on the exercise bike, trying to get the blood flowing and get back in the football game. Game was 2. It is now 2nd and 8. Calvillo fires it out there. Cahoon is stopped short of a first down as he's ridden out of bounds by Lynn J. Shell. That'll bring up 3rd down for Montreal. Tough decision here now would be a 53-yard field goal try for the Alouettes.
Anthony Calvillo forcing to dump down. Toronto's forcing to do that. Dumping down means throwing it underneath the defense, and then everybody rallying to the football, making the tackle, forcing the punt. That's what you see often, you know, in 2 down or basically 3 down football. If you're solid defensively on 1st and 10, you're going to force those situations where you can dictate to the offense to dump it down underneath the coverage and come up and make a tackle and force them to punt. It's exactly what Toronto's been doing a nice job of.
Argos did not have the right personnel on the field on this 3rd down punt, so they're forced to call a timeout.
And
go ahead, Matt.
No, Gordon, I'm just, you know, and that you just can't have. And now they called a timeout. That timeout in a close ball game like this could be very important later on. And it's one of those mistakes you have to be able to eliminate if you want to turn the corner and become a contender as opposed to a pretender right now.
So instead of trying a 53-yard field goal, now Duval will. They had a look at it. This will be his longest of the year. His previous long is 48. Duval puts it up, and it is good. Duval slams it through, and the Owls get 3. Introducing the new TSN e-store at tsnshop.ca. Now you can own top quality TSN athletic and casual gear, including official CFL and TSN merchandise. Visit tsnshop.ca and order yours today. Damon Duval with a 53-yard field goal, the longest of his career.
With a leg like that, that's surprising. You know, I'm glad they rethought their thinking there and gave him an opportunity, because he had plenty of leg on that football. It landed, what, about 7, 8 yards deep in the end zone, if not maybe 10. Impressive. Impressive.
Alouettes lead by 6 as Dorsey fields at his 10. Dominic Dorsey, full stride, gets out to the 30-yard line. And that's where the Argonauts will start after Duval pounded that through.
And in order for things to go right, you've got to have a strong snap, which they do. A great pin, which they do. Laces are out. Great rotation. Plenty of leg. And then watch where it lands. Bang. That's about 10 yards deep in the end zone. He could have nailed that possibly from 63 yards. Nice job by Bernard there starting that whole thing. Having a clean snap. Cahoon pins it with his soft hands, spins the laces, and Duval does the rest.
Argos drove for a touchdown in their last possession. Joseph under pressure. He got hammered there by Anwar Stewart. And meantime, there's an Alouette down on the play, Gerald Brown. And Kerry Joseph got a full-on look at Anwar Stewart.
Vladimir Screen, you know, he just comes basically untouched and then says hello to Kerry Joseph and says, fresh meat, I'm hungry. Takes him to the ground.
While ball they intend to Brown. We'll take a break and return to Toronto right after this. Gerald Brown slowly makes his way off the field after colliding with Toronto's Chad Lucas.
Yeah, and you get all these well-conditioned athletes running around out there full speed, and sometimes you don't know where everybody's at in the field, and he got caught off guard. And
I think Lucas stepped into him there, Matt. I think he saw him coming and kind of stepped into him a little bit.
Well, if he wanted to, he could have lit him up. It just looked like they just collided accidentally, but Chad Lucas could have taken an opportunity to put him in the next week sometime.
Joseph under pressure gets away. Diamond Ferry back out there, makes the tackle, but not before Kerry Joseph gets a first down up to the 42-yard line. There's a flag down over where Chad Lucas was having a conversation with Mark Estelle.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Montreal 31. Penalty is declined. It's first down.
Take the 11-yard gain instead of the 10.
Gerald Brown's thinking on the last play was illegal contact on a DB, right? But I'm sure Chad Lucas was telling Mark Estelle that same thing I did to Brown last play, I'm fixing to do to you. You can't believe all the smack talking that's going on.
I can't. I worked the sidelines in this league for 10 years, man, and most of it was done by you.
One of the best parts of the game.
Joseph swings it out. Jason Carter. And there's a late flag that comes down again deep in the defensive backfield of the Montreal Alouettes. That flag was thrown 20 yards away from where the tackle was made, which might indicate a face mask. It is holding against Toronto.
Holding. Toronto, number 8. Penalty is declined. Second down.
I don't think they mean Zeke Moreno. I think they mean number 80, Brad Smith.
Yeah, outside man here in the line of scrimmage. You see him right here. And just keep your eyes on him, see what he does. He comes up and then basically just pulls Sanchez, and not allowed to do that. You can't extend those hands. Got to move those feet. Simple thing. Got to keep those feet moving.
On second down, Joseph fires, and it was almost intercepted by Billy Parker. And that will bring up third down for the Argos.
Jason Carter just, he stops on the route, and it's like, what are you doing? Quarterbacks trust, and you're coming in there. The DB is. You got to get in that hole. You can't quit on the route, and that's just lack of maybe the reps that Kerry's had with that receiver. To this point, because he's not taking the first team reps. But you can't do that as a receiver. You can't give up on the route. More times than not, the ball's going the other way.
10th punt, and it is boomed by Medlock. Taylor from the 20. And Taylor spins up to the 28-yard line, which is where the Alouettes will start. And we will head to the fourth quarter with the Owls leading by 6. The numbers after 3 quarters brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always. You can see that the Alouettes have been held to a relatively low 224 net yards. They lead the ball game by 6. Matt, you like the move to Kerry Joseph here to start the second half.
Yeah, I do. I think it's, actually ignited this offense, and I'm glad Bart Anders went to this move, because Cody Pickett for the last couple of weeks has struggled in the first half of play. And when you're looking at 3-10 in the face and in a desperation mode, you better pull out all the stops. And Kerry Joseph has been on the money. He's had some receivers not step up for him in the third quarter there. Chad Lucas not going down for a ball he should have caught. And then there you have the receiver, Carter, giving up on a route, almost causing a turnover. So he needs some help out there.
On first down, complete from Calvillo to Ben Cahoon. He's up to the 40-yard line for a first down. Devontae Edwards makes the stop. And meantime, for the Alouettes, some injuries starting to pile up as Avon Coburn in street clothes makes his way back to the Montreal sideline. Skip Seagraves last week, offensive lineman, was injured, suffered they believe a stress fracture.
Yeah, and you know, this is not what you want to see when you're the Montreal Alouettes, you know, whether you're in the organization or a teammate of his, because he is your meal ticket to some degree in the backfield. But you'll see a lot of Kerry Carter in the middle.
And Kerry Carter gets a gain of 8 out to the 49-yard line. One concern for the Alouettes last year, and I think it's reflected this year, Matt, is they've got to be better in the late stage of the season. Last year they'd wrapped up the division early, but they lost 3 of the last 5 games. It's not necessarily why they lost the Grey Cup game at home, but they didn't play well for about the last month of the season.
Well, and it's difficult, you know, keep your focus when you clinch things so early. But, you know, I credit Mark Trestman and his staff for doing a great job of getting the boys in a position to go ahead and clinch early and to deal with that problem. Much rather be in their shoes than across the way in Bart Andrews' shoes right now. And I'd much rather deal with that situation. But, you know, I was talking to Olivier Poulin before the game, the director of communications for the Alouettes, and I asked him, what happens when or if Avon Colburn goes down, and you know, because you know you have to look ahead, you know, as to who the people are going to fill those shoes, and those are some big shoes to fill. You know, 240 yards of total offense last week alone. He's player of the month offensively. He's just been spectacular for him. He leads the league in rushing. So Kerry Carter is going to get a big wake-up call here and get a lot of opportunity in a backup position.
Alouettes got a first down across the 50-yard line. 13:47 to go in the fourth quarter. Mark Trestman's team is not having an easy time with Toronto, and he predicted that. Next week, by the way, the Alouettes home to the Calgary Stampeders in a much-anticipated Grey Cup rematch. Fires it up to Kerry Watkins, and Watkins across midfield, forced out at the 54-yard line by Devontae Edwards.
And once they get by Calgary, once they get through that football game, Gord, every other opponent is in the Eastern Division, so they can really distance themselves from everybody in the East Division if they haven't done that already.
A chance to clinch today. If the Alouettes were to win this game and Calgary beat Hamilton tonight, the Alouettes would clinch the East Division for the 2nd year in a row.
You look at that Hamilton, Winnipeg, Toronto. That may not be so inviting, you know, the way Winnipeg's been playing the last couple of weeks, because they're going to be a tough out down the stretch here as they start to gain their confidence and start rounding out into form.
Flags are down as Kerry Carter takes that pass and crosses the 50-yard line. And every time a flag flies, Bart Andrews shakes his head, convinced it's against his team. Will Mark Trestman have a hard time keeping his team focused once they've clinched?
Offside. Montreal number 86. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll repeat, 2nd down.
No, he won't, Gord, because what we just saw there in the first half with Avon Colburn going down with a groin injury, you know, you're one way from being a different football team, one play away from being a different football team. You know, you lose a guy like Avon. You know, what if you lose a Kerry Watkins now? You know, you got to have other guys step up in their place and do the job, and therefore you got to maintain focus. And this football team's they're too professional in their approach not to, Gordon. In my opinion, that's what makes them special and separates them, is because they have guys in a position ready to step in and make plays just like that.
Kerry Watkins with the catch from Anthony Calvillo. The gain is 16 yards. Another Montreal first down.
Yeah, he's on the top of your screen. You talk to Anthony Calvillo about this guy and what makes him so special. And AC says simply it's his explosion and ability to get out of the break, which we saw right there. He can separate and leave you behind in the dust and create separation and space for the ball to be fitted by the quarterback. And that's what AC loves about Kerry Watkins.
Firing again, and this time it's Jamal Richardson down to the 30-yard line for a Montreal first down. Lynn J. Shell is there on the stop as you see Kerry Watkins, who leads the Canadian Football League in receiving yards. He closes in on 1,000.
I was watching Kerry in the first half, not a lot of action. He was kind of, you know, moping around, limping around a little bit. You know, I didn't know if he was into it. You know, there's not a lot of offense happening. Balls weren't coming his way, but, you know, it only takes one to get a guy like that back on track and on fire, and then look out from that point forward.
First down, here comes the rush. Drop it up underneath to Richardson, and he's wrapped up quickly by Zeke Moreno. So let me ask you this, and we talked about this last year, Matt. Should the Alouettes clinch today, how much should Anthony Calvillo play down the stretch? Should we see more of Adrian McPherson and Chris Lee?
Well, you're asking, you know, the wrong guy or the right guy, however you want to look at it. But, you know, I was a big, you know, proponent and an advocate of getting Adrian McPherson a lot of playing time last year when they clinched early, and we didn't see it until the last week of the season, and by then it was too late. And they had lost some momentum and certainly some rhythm going into the playoffs, and I would like to see Adrian McPherson get a lot of playing time, but I don't think that's the mindset of Mark Trestman and the Montreal Alouettes.
To the end zone for Kerry Watkins, it's incomplete. And there's a flag down at the goal line. And Lynn J. Shell is arguing as he was covering Kerry Watkins.
Pass interference. Toronto, number 21. Automatic first down.
Yeah, Lynn J. Shell, you know, it's a tough matchup all day long with a guy like this. You know, a little motion there to get the matchup that they want. You see Watkins dip and rip. You saw the separation that Anthony's talking about there. Lynn J. I didn't see much contact there, you know, but a little pull on the jersey because he knows about his acceleration out of the break, and there we saw it, and the DB Lynn J just said, oh no, I'm not letting up 6 here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab him.
First down from the 11. Calvillo to the end zone, incomplete. Looking there for Watkins. Anthony Calvillo intercepted today, just his 6th interception of the year. Man, I'm not sure what's more impressive, 18 touchdown passes or 6 interceptions.
Yeah, this is nice coverage. You know, this is Watkins. You know, he got a lot of space to the outside. AC throws it, trying to get over the top. That ball should have been spotted more towards the boundary, giving the receiver an opportunity. The fact is, he was blanketed on the inside, and a nice job by Jason Shire.
Second down from the 11, 10th play of the drive. Here comes the rush. Calvillo has to unload quickly as he has Willie Pyle bearing in on him, and Calvillo has been under pressure all day.
Achilles heel for the Alouettes, ability to finish drives in a lot of cases. And you know, you can see the frustration here. AC's on his horse right away because he got Pyle coming off the edge. You got Ivan coming the other way, swarming the quarterback. We know there's been a push up front, and AC's got to drift, and just throw the football away, and they're leaving points out on the football field. That's why he's disgusted, because instead of getting 6, they're only going to get a chance for 3.
Lay off the southern side, guys.
A chance, though, for a 9-point lead as it's spotted at the 18-yard line. Duvall puts it through, and the Alouettes extend their lead, but Calvillo wants more. Back in Toronto, where Catherine Dolan has her eyes trained on some Montreal fans.
Yeah, guys, I could hear the Montreal fans before I even saw them take their seats here at the Rogers Centre. There's almost 700 fans that boarded the train this morning at 6 a.m. They came down to the Rogers Centre. It's all part of an organized trip by the Alouettes organization, the 12th year that they've actually done this. They're sitting in 3 different sections now. They arrived here at 11:20, and besides being able to come down and actually watch their team play, they're also going to be taking the train back with Alouette players who will actually be going up and down the train and talking to them. Nice.
Thank you, Catherine. Duray brings it around the corner. And a good return now by Andre Duray. Still going. Duray finally wrapped up at the 45-yard line. But an excellent return as he is brought down by Michael Giffen.
This is what I was seeing before Dominic Dorsey came in back into the league and in an Argonaut uniform. I just told you about Etan Boulet's speed, and that's what he does well, and he's extremely fast man on the field, and Dury actually just outruns him to the corner, which is awfully difficult to do, and it turns it upfield and puts Toronto in great field position.
Down 9, start their own 45, and here's Robertson up close to midfield, and another Toronto first down as the tackle is made by Diamond Ferry, and Jamal Robertson started to break through after being held in check in the first half.
People will say, ask the question, where was this in the first half? Well, you've got a different quarterback in there that brings a different edge and different skill set to the game. And when you have Kerry out there, you better be contained conscious, and those guys aren't able to squeeze those holes as much as they would like to or normally do with the Cody Pick in the ball game, and therefore those lanes for Robertson are opening up.
Second and a yard, and Robertson fights his way close to midfield. And we'll see where they spot it. But they should be close to another Toronto first down. 8:18 to go in the fourth quarter. The Alouettes leading by 2 possessions. And they'll spot it right on the center field stripe. Andrus didn't like the spot. And that is why. Just got it. Budstein gets up the magnifying glass, and it is a first down, and Andrus is still arguing the spot.
Let it go. Let it go, coach. You can sense and almost see the tension and pressure, you know, and when every inch counts, you know, with Bart Anderson's football team right
It's
now.
not just him. It's the players. It's management. Adam Reedy came out and said this week he's worried about his job. The GM of the team.
I hate to hear that, but that's certainly a reality.
First down from midfield. Back to the ground they go. Robertson barrels his way across the 45-yard line. Still fighting down to the 41 for a Toronto first down and a pickup of 14 yards.
Yeah, this is against, you know, the best defense in the league, and that's a nice job by the offensive line, and Taylor Robertson opening up that hole and just coming down on the interior of that Montreal defensive line, giving Jamal Robertson an opportunity to turn out some nice, hard-earned yardage.
Montreal, the toughest team in the league to run on this season. From the 41, this time they fit to Robertson. Joseph has time, swings it out there, but Chad Lucas broke towards the sideline, and Joseph threw the ball upfield. Coverage by Chip Cox.
Yeah, Lucas on the top right there. It looks like he's going to try to run a comeback here. Bang! Stops. Ball's high and over the top. That's 2 guys that really don't have a lot of opportunity to work together. I don't understand why, but you know, the only thing I can think of is you're not taking first team reps together. But when offensive team during practice is not going on, you should have your receivers as a backup quarterback working on things just like that so you can connect.
Second down from the 41. Joseph again has time, and now he loses the football. Cox picks it out of midair. Chip Cox is off and running, and they're not going to catch it. Chip Cox, touchdown, 57 yards.
Bart Anders can't believe his eyes. He is in disbelief on the sidelines. Kerry Joseph struggling to try to make a play and get away from the pressure of John Bowman. Cox coming up the middle. Johnny on the spot. He runs away from the O-line on the back of the play there. Uncontested in the end zone for a huge turn of events.
The Argos are challenging, saying that Cox was down by contact on the recovery. This has been a problem for Kerry Joseph this season. That is the 5th fumble he has lost this year.
That was a tremendous effort by John Bowman.
Now here's the thing. I think Cox might have lost possession before his knee was down and then picked it back up. He's lost the football, so he is down, but he doesn't have the football. Then he picks it back up.
Yeah, this play stands, in my opinion, Gord. You saw it correctly. And but just a tremendous effort by John Bowman coming off the edge to disrupt the play and then for Cox to beat.
Toronto has asked us to review whether that was a forward pass or not. We will do so.
A forward pass.
Well, hey, you know, pull out all stops. That came off his left knee, Gord, as he was trying to secure it, you know, and he had no throwing motion, in my opinion, going forward. You can actually see it click off his left knee here as the ball comes down. He's redirected here by Bowman. Ball hits his left knee, comes out. That is not a forward pass. That is simply a fumble and a great pressure by the defensive end, who often goes overlooked because of Anwar Stewart's play on the other side of the football.
By the way, if it stands, that'll be Chip Cox's second fumble return for a touchdown this year. And here's the call.
On the review, the ruling on the field stands. It is a touchdown.
Pretty easy one right there. But great play by the Montreal Alouettes defense. Flexing their muscles, showing that they are #1 defense in the league.
In a game where defenses have dominated, how appropriate is it? But it's a huge defensive play that turns it. As Chip Cox takes it to the house on the fumble recovery. Now Duvall will come up to kick it, and the Montreal fans are in full voice.
The center's head, guys!
Duvall puts the point after up and through. It's been a good week for Montreal fans in Toronto as the Alouettes now lead by 16. Chip Cox had an 81-yard punt or fumble recovery for a touchdown in the opening week against Calgary. Now a 57-yarder here to blow the game open against Toronto. And for his reward, he gets to play on special teams.
Welcome to the CFL.
Something you never did, except as a holder. Val sends it deep. And here is Dury from his 5-yard line. And the Argos respond to the special teams play. Dury across the 40. Gets by the kicker, and then gets buried from behind by Montreal's Jermaine McElveen. A 46-yard return. We're back after this. Game story brought to you by Molson Canadian. This is our beer. Anthony Calvillo, his usual efficient self, and pretty good on the ground as well. But he's been under pressure today. In fact, the Toronto Argonauts have recorded 4 quarterback sacks, tying a season high allowed by the Montreal Alouettes, who had come in allowing just only 20 on the year. And then the big play moments ago, Chip Cox on the fumble recovery goes 57 yards for the touchdown, as the Alouettes open up a 16-point lead. By the way, John Bowman, we saw force that fumble to Chip Cox. If he's awarded a sack, and we think he will be, he would tie for the league lead with Ricky Foley of the BC Lions at 10. We saw that happen to Anwar Stewart last week. After the game, he was awarded a sack because he forced a fumble that was recovered, and they ruled that a sack.
Recovered by his team.
Yeah.
And they recorded that as a sack in review, right? So
Yeah.
they went back and fixed that stat. And if that's the case, our understanding is that should be the same for Bowman.
Yeah.
And he moves into the tie for the sack lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple stuff.
We'll give it to him.
We'll give it to him. Give him a couple.
Second down for the 50-yard line. Joseph under pressure. He gets away. Now looking at the field. Got a long way to go. And he is belted at midfield. A late flag come down. No, they're firing that out of bounds. And he was brought down by Karan Williams.
Gary just trying to make something happen here with just over 5 minutes left to play in the game. He's got people living in his kitchen sink. That means right in his lap, right in his vision. He's got to create. He gets to the outside, and Karan Williams showing you his athletic ability. We touched on that earlier in the game, how athletic both these defensive lines are and the personnel throughout these defenses. And Karan Williams shows you a little bit about that, tracking down Kerry Joseph.
All right, so it's 3rd and 5, and the Argonauts are gambling with under 5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. And they give it off to Jamal Robertson, and he moves the pile to the 50. That looked like a bad play call for the first couple of seconds and a pretty good one for the last 3.
Wow. Yeah. And just give it to the big boys up front. Your best weapon on the field, in my opinion, all season long has been Jamal Robertson. Why not?
Now, did he get far enough? I'm going to say he did. And I'm going to be wrong. Turn it over on down. So another big play by the Montreal defense.
Look at Coach. He just can't. 2 different worlds right there. Well, you thought that it was dead from the beginning because he was stopped, and then all of a sudden the pile and the legs started moving and driving, and it looked like the momentum had gotten him enough for the first down. But I don't know if you had an opportunity now, maybe challenge the spot on the play, right? Just challenge that spot, you know, so you don't give into that, because that is a challenging play there.
And we're still arguing. First down now. The give goes to Montreal fullback Kerry Carter. Gain of a couple. Let's have a look and see if we can in that rugby scrum where Robertson was.
You're down 16. You're going for it in 3rd and 5. You know, you're looking at your 10th loss, and right here, and why not challenge the spot and see if you can get a better look at it and might have a chance of moving the chains because the spot was off maybe 3 or 4 inches.
Alouettes can clinch first place in the East today. They win and Hamilton loses in Calgary. And the Alouettes know they'll be playing in the Eastern Final at home. Now here's Cahoon with a catch up close to the 50-yard line. That would be another Montreal first down, but the clock continues to run on the gain of 5.
Yeah, Kerry trying to create. You know, he got an opportunity the last couple of weeks. Didn't happen for him when he went out there. It was close last week in Winnipeg, trying to bring his team back. You know, he got some help from special teams. This week, you know, he's a great effort by John Bowman on the fumble. I'm not going to put that on Joseph, but I think he's been let down by his receivers here a few times in the second half. And frustration is paramount and evident on the sidelines. Everybody's looking reality right in the face. And
Matt, this is a football team that has won 1 of its last 11 games at home.
Yeah, unfortunately, you see that with the attendance here today, and that's unfortunate because this football team's not far away from being competitive from week to week. In fact, they are. It's just they need to find some more offense. A few pieces away. Talking to Bart Andrus yesterday, he went into great detail what he feels the team needs, and I just love for seeing the turn. We need for them to turn it around.
McPherson comes in on 3rd and inches. Clock ticking down close to the 3-minute warning. And McPherson spins ahead, gets a couple on short yardage, and another Montreal first down. Some tempers flaring, as they did last week in the Toronto-Winnipeg game. The Alouettes have a commanding 16-point lead here in the 4th. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right since 1939.
Yeah, going back to that challenge, and you know the reason why the Argonauts couldn't challenge the spot is as I made a mistake. They used their timeout earlier in the game in the half, and couldn't challenge it. So,
and you were absolutely right when you said that burning a timeout on that punt would be costly for the Argos. They were unable to challenge the spot on that Robertson run.
Cost them in several ways because it gave Montreal an opportunity to rethink their thinking on the long Duval field goal at 53 yards, which he made, cost them 3 points there. And then, obviously, an opportunity maybe to maintain possession here late when it matters the most.
Andrus talking it over with a frustrated Kerry Joseph. Meantime, the Alouettes are chewing up the clock. And there is no sign of Anthony Calvillo coming out of this game. And Carter's wrapped up at about the 45-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down, and this will be a 53-yard field goal again for Duval. Why not?
You know, just see if he can do it going south. He kicked it going north. Now he's going south. No, not even an attempt.
Apparently that's into the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah. Well, that train's getting warm right now, isn't it?
Oh,
all those fans are going to have a nice ride home to Montreal, share some beverages with the boys, get up close and personal with the CFL ball players, the best in the league so far this season.
You know what, Matt?
It'll be a lot of fun going on that train.
Given what we've seen in the stands, I think most of them will sleep on the way home. It's been a long day for those Montreal fans.
How about a power snooze? Power snooze. Take about a 20-minute nap, get right back at it.
Look at that. Dorsey fields the punt and steps out of bounds at the 6-yard line. So more bad field position for the Argos. NFL Sunday Night Football continues this week as the Chargers travel to Pittsburgh to take on Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. Crisis in Steeltown. The Steelers are undefeated. 7 Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Now they got lots of energy yet. Second win.
And the third and the fourth on the way home on the train.
So nap to Kingston.
The love train. Going home, man. They're having a lot of fun.
Nap to Kingston, then bring it home. What a great way to travel, by the way.
Yeah, and they did that last week coming to Hamilton. It worked well for them, obviously in a 42-8 blowout, and it's worked well for them here.
First down from his own 5. Joseph up there to PK Sam, and he's forced out of bounds at about the 10 by Mark Estelle.
You know, a lot of people talk about what do they need to do offensively, and you know, it's a rhythm, it's a tempo, it's a playing with a sense of urgency. I touched on it earlier talking about Buck Pierce's performance last night against Saskatchewan and the urgency that he was playing with. I'd like to see the Argonauts offense play with that sense of urgency, that tempo, that rhythm. And we just haven't seen it for several weeks, in fact, all season long. And they need to get to that if they're going to turn the corner.
Joseph bobbles the snap. Now slings it out there, and the Argos fumble again. And a mad scramble for it. Simon Ferry's in there. And it looks like the Alouettes have it. Jason Carter on the reception, but the fumble is recovered by Ramon Guzman.
Just no sense of awareness, football awareness. You know, it's like, come on. I mean, you're scrapping and fighting here. Put that ball away. Put it in the other hand. Secure it. You got hot pursuit coming from the inside out. Put it in the offhand. It's frustrating because, you know, it's a feeling, and it's visually you can see it. You know, from our perspective, you can just see it. It's being lethargic. It's just not being in the moment and playing with that sense of urgency that is desperately needed here with this Toronto offense. Not because of the situation of the game, just because of the state of the franchise, where they're at, the record, and how they need to get back on track.
Calvillo gives it off to Carter. Barrels down to about the 17-yard line. And we can tell you that following the football game, we will join the nationwide series Kansas Lottery 300 in progress as soon as we're done here in 1 minute and 19 seconds on the clock. So Anthony Calvillo and the Alouettes on the verge of going to 11-2.
That's just it. 1:17 on the clock. You're up by 16, and AC's still in the ball game. That's what I don't understand, because you've got a perfect opportunity to get Adrian McPherson, your backup quarterback, some quality reps in a game situation.
Now you say that, Matt. It took a tow truck to get you out of games. Be honest.
I was pulled many, many times. Go ahead, Gord.
Well, the Alouettes will go to 11-2. If Hamilton loses today in Calgary, that'll clinch first. Meantime, for the Toronto Argonauts, gently slipping away in the Eastern Conference standings. And they've also got that crossover to worry about. Should the Western team that finishes fourth have a better record than them? And right now, BC and Edmonton are 6 points up.
I really like that 5 and 8 that I'm seeing on Winnipeg right now, coming on, or that, you know, that battle of the so-called worst teams last week in Winnipeg. But you talk about kick-starting and giving that team confidence. That brawl that happened there really, I think, brought them together. Bishop took some ownership in that program. Receivers started making plays. And I think Mike Kelly and that staff out there is on the right track, which is a good thing here on in to watch this race develop.
Ball from the 25. He's figured large today. Booted a 53-yard field goal earlier. Puts another one through. How about, speaking of big plays, was there a bigger play this year than Javon Johnson's 118-yard missed field goal return last night?
And not to get the Gladiator. I'm stirring the pot here because, you know, they gave it to Hefney, right? But and it was great TV because as soon as Javon Johnson heard that he did not get the Gladiator Award from Mr. Suter, he was like, I'm not talking to TSN right now. It was great, you know, but you're absolutely right, Gord. That play was spectacular. You know, it reminded me of the days of Henry Gizmo Williams doing that on a regular basis. And that guy's been electrifying, and he's really found him a nice niche there in the return game for Winnipeg.
Hey, they may have got the wrong guy. You had the wrong guy.
Why is that?
Dwayne Ford.
Oh, sorry,
Hey,
Dwayne.
so come on.
Yeah, sorry.
You're on the right guy.
Yeah, okay, well, if I'm going to throw somebody in the bus, make sure it's the right guy.
Sure.
All right, it's the guy from Western, Dwayne Ford. Call him Food. A lot of guys from Western like to eat. Greg Marshall, when I played with him back in Edmonton, we called him Food. I've given Dwayne Ford, trying to make it stick, the nickname of Food because of his love of all cuisines.
So a game once again that the Argonauts were in, but it slips away, and the Alouettes have a habit of winning games like this. Here's Dorsey from the 10. And Dominic Dorsey buried by a pile of Alouettes. A flag comes down late at the 25-yard line. And this is where Bart Andrus will keep an eye on his club because the Argos rather have had a habit late in games of getting into some altercations.
It almost looks like Carey's being forced against his will to come back onto the football field and finish this out. Disgusted with the situation entirely. Cody Pickett seems to be in disbelief himself. And the reality is the Toronto Argonauts are looking at 3-10. They're a 3-10 football team.
And they're going to Saskatchewan to face the Riders.
In Mosaic, which is a difficult place to play because that team is resilient and finds ways to win when you think they're down. They're going to have to find some type of momentum here to finish out this season and see if they can't scratch a claw to get back in the playoff race.
Joseph fires it there, complete to PK Sam, and listen to these Montreal fans serenading Toronto. And enjoying every second of it.
Insult to injury.
I wonder how many of them did the doubleheader. Remember the Canadiens game on Thursday? Argo game on Saturday? Okay.
The guys that probably attempted to do that are probably still napping in their hotel.
Yeah, they would be asleep. Joseph fires, and that is almost intercepted by Marcus Dell. There's 1 second left on the clock, and now we do have pushing and shoving as Jermaine McElveen is in